Good morning. Happy Thursday. So, I did something for the first time. Yesterday, I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I had this like epiphany. At least I thought it was. Yeah, it was fat character defect. But I recorded this long video and it wouldn't upload. And then, I felt like I had to get that message out, so I recorded another one and then uploaded it. And I got to thinking long and hard about that video. And so I pulled it because it was like a character defect. Yesterday was filled with character defects. Sometimes, so I have three voices that talk to me. My own voice, my disease or the devil, both. I consider them both the same thing. And God. And they all sound just like me. And sometimes it's really hard for me to differentiate which one is which. The obviouses are, like when I say I'm worth it, when I say I'm good enough, when I say I'm doing good, when I look in the mirror and say I love you, and when I raise that upper lip and growl if I'm not feeling it, which I do. Every once in a while. I had to do it quite a bit in the beginning. I don't know if I want to say it quite a bit. I did it. I didn't do it every single day. That was kind of the goal, right? Every once in a while I'd do it. Try to motivate myself. Anyways. And I think what happened yesterday was that other voice popped in my head. And so I thought I had the answer. I'm never going to find the answer. And so I said this morning, I woke up and I wrote. Usually I write throughout the day, but I wrote this morning. And I wrote, no more videos and, no more this, no more that. Like, just beating on myself, Yesterday I might have done something too much. And I was really in guilt and shame about it. And I know that, like, it's about giving ourselves grace. When we, it's about giving ourselves grace. I go to a church called True Grace. And the reason they call themselves True Grace is because Jesus sat in the middle of truth and grace. And I really like that. That's not why I chose that church. That church kind of chose me, but I just was led there. And I'm not going to go into that. But I beat on myself a lot last night about some of my actions, some of the things I said, over and over. And then I woke up this morning like, dude, like, no more. I know consistency is key. Like, consistency is key. When you show up for people, be consistent. And then I heard a sermon this morning where he, I thought it was going to go one way and I didn't want to watch it. And then it was exactly what I needed to hear. So, it was that same lesson, like when you don't want to, listen, or you don't want to go work out, or you don't want to go into the whatever, because I almost listened to some Matthew McConaughey thing, which wouldn't have been bad either, but I needed to hear that other message. And it was like, don't quit just because things get uncomfortable. Don't quit because, what he said is, if you quit, you'll feel relief, but the consequence of that relief will not be the benefit of what you've been working so hard at. Man, I've always been about relief. And then so I decided this morning, I'm going to just listen to K-Love. I know, right? So I did that. I put that on the radio station. And the first thing Grayson said is, Miss April listens to that. And I saw Miss April this morning. I went over to thank her because there was a time it was really fucking bad, and she watched the kids. There's a couple people that have done that for me, and I have time, so I went over there and thanked her, and just told her how amazing she is, and I appreciated that she watched, like she takes care of the kids when I need them, and if she ever needs us to, like if she's in a pinch or any of that stuff, either I can tell Amanda to bring the kids by or whatever if it's after school, so she can get some extra hours, because she's a daycare provider. And when I was really bad and I would go there sweaty and stuff, she never once said, "What's wrong with you? What the heck?" Like. And so, anyways, and she had it on in her background. And then I'm driving and I hear "Rescued" by Lauren Daigle, and like, bam, I've heard that song over the last year and a half. It's on my playlist, but for some reason today it got me really emotional. I have shared this before, I'm going to share it again, and I'll always share this song because it's important for me to let people know. I would go to work. I wouldn't get loaded and go to work. I'd go to work after weeks of, days, my weekend, and I would go in and I'd be not in a good headspace. Not enough sleep, malnourished, tired, no energy, and afraid. I would drive to work and I would be afraid. And this was like 2019, I think. Maybe this is the charm. You guys get to watch me not get frustrated at my thing. Time for a new one. Okay, I'm just gonna finish it this way. So, time for a new piece. Just a thing, right? So, I would go into work, and I think on that particular day, I was driving home. I had made it through the week, just day in and day out, hearing that shit. Tweaker, hearing Junkie, hearing all those things. That I heard. Whether they said it or not, I heard it. Doesn't matter. It's what I heard. That's how I felt. Trying to pretend like what I was hearing, I wasn't hearing, when they knew I was pretending to not hear it. And it just over and over again for a long time. And then driving home, and I decide I'm gonna end it right now. And I've got it in my mind. I'm gonna take all of those pills, and I'm just gonna fucking disappear. And I'm just like, I get that pit in my stomach is just so bad. And that song comes on, and I just break down. And it's like that song was telling me, don't come in. And every once in a while, and I did. I went home, and ultimately, not too far long after that song, I asked for help, and then I got help, and I got a couple years out of that. And that'll always stay with me that day. That was that day, like that day that you make the decision and then God intervenes. And it's about trusting in God, knowing that, like, when I want to quit, whatever it is, person, place, or thing, because I feel like I'm too much or this or that, God will find a way to intervene, and I'll learn in the process. I thought I figured something out yesterday. Like, I thought I figured out the answer to my problem. And what I found was a character defect that needs working. You know, I thought, my problem is that I'm in it for the long haul, and it's not a problem. It's being able to have balance. Knowing that, you know, no matter, like, even with a little bit of clean time under my belt, I'm gonna struggle. And when I do, give myself grace, have some truth, and not live in shame, not live in guilt. There was a time I would tell myself that guilt's good. It's preventing me from being even worse. So, like, I justified that. But the shame, I just, you know, and I worked steps, so they help with that. I, you know, completed step 6 2 days ago, and I went to my sponsor's 27th yesterday, and I was there for him, and he's always there for me, and I'm not in a bad place today. I'm gonna rest this on. I'm in a good place today. But I can be all in my head, and I can let it get in the way of, like, what's really important. Yeah, this camera, I just keep moving. So, I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful that I'm clean today, and that I can give myself some grace. We can be so hard on ourselves, you know. You know, giving ourselves grace doesn't discount what we've done. But what we've done, when we get to a point of our lives when we want to make ourselves better, and we do the things that we need to do to make those changes in the beginning, what we've done built a foundation on where we're going and who we're becoming. How we're going to help our kids, people. When I look back at the last year and a half, I can sit back and talk about even that mess. Or I can sit back and talk about all of the good that's come from it. How close I am with my children. The relationship I thought I'd never repair. The times I thought that I would never truly be able to get my older and my middles back. And not back as in I lost them, but I lost them when I wasn't even there. While I was there. To not being present. To now being present and still going through the struggles. And it's about being open-minded to what's going on, and not wanting to quit. Not sitting here saying, okay, I'm going to surrender to these videos, I'm going to surrender to my writings, I'm going to surrender to certain things because I'm just too much, right? I used to say that all the time, and I caught myself saying it clean, and I caught myself saying it, and that's not where I'm at. I'm on a mission, and I don't understand what the mission's quite about. But I do know that it feels right. Because I know what wrong felt like for so long. So, yeah, I'm going to have some stages of uncomfortability. But what I'm going to do is appreciate When there's anxiety, have faith. And when I'm feeling super low, try to find some gratitude. And not try to compare so much. I sit back and I worry that like people are making fun of me on these. And somebody who I respect and care about a lot asked me the other day, why? Because the way they see me, I don't see myself. And I need to, because I do have a lot to offer. I do have a lot to give. And more importantly, I have a lot to learn. And I do love myself today. Because I love myself, I can love others. And I've always known that I was meant for more than where I was in that darkness. And I'm living proof of that today. So, even with the camera falling and me having to switch hands while driving illegally, today's going to be a good day. I have a job to do. And I feel good about myself today. And I'm going to have weak moments where I feel not good enough. But like I said a while ago, when I asked myself if I'm good enough, all I have to do is finish that sentence with, for God, yes. For Lucy, yes. For Grayson, yes. For Malia, yes. For Shayna, for Andrew, yes. For my friends, yes. If you don't know, you know. That's all I got. I'm out.